Hi, I'm Greg Gutfeld, 90% water and 10% love. Coming up on tonight's show, what does it look like the very moment you stop becoming the most powerful leader in the world? Oh, that's it. Then, what is more classifieds, Hillary Clinton's emails or the Sunday real estate section? Write the answer and catch up on your TV screen and win nothing. And a new app lets you rate your fellow humans. Some call it Yelp for people. I call it the worst idea since children. Let's get started, America. I have nude Pilates at 11.
Evil, dumb, or stupid. So pick one of those.
It feels very immature.
Makes you stupid and then wastes your life.
It would be funny if it weren't so tragic.
He's just incompetent.
Welcome to tonight's episode of Darn Putin.
Yeehaw.
So as Obama acts calm, Russia drops bombs. For those who think Barack is pulling a Tom Sawyer, tricking his pal Russia into painting the fence that is Syria, think again. Putin's not painting it, he's annexing it. And as much as we'd like to think Syria is no longer our problem, that Putin's taking a crazy X off our hands, please. Maybe he'll bomb ISIS, maybe he won't. Sadly, not even Admiral Longface has a clue.
We agreed on the imperative of as soon as possible, perhaps even as soon as tomorrow, but as soon as possible, having a military-to-military deconfliction discussion, meeting, conference, whatever can be done as soon as possible.
He inspires confidence the way leg warmers inspire masculinity. Speaking of leg warmers, here's a blast from the past.
When you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not Al-Qaeda, you said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back.
That's amazing. That deserves one of these. How funny is it that it's actually Obama bringing the 80s and the Cold War back? Maybe Putin should wear a Cosby sweater just to rub it in. But then what's Obama do next? He compares this to chess.
Our battle is with the entire international community to resolve the conflict. This is not some, superpower chessboard contest.
Chessboard contest. That's the ticket. When you're trying to dismiss Russian power, your analogy is a game that Russians could destroy us at. Stick to Kerplunk. It's more your speed.
You don't want those marbles, not at all. So pick a stick, but don't let them fall. Cause if it goes Kerplunk, you're some.
Kerplunk from Tyco.
That's our foreign policy. Watching the White House caught off guard at Russia's unexpected power grab, they're like a stripper shocked when a drunk stockbroker tries to cop a feel. What'd you expect? This is the end result of a leader obsessed with domestic transformation. Obama spent 7 years trying to turn our nation into a Benetton ad. While beyond our borders, the world plotted. Confront Islamic extremists, he won't even say the words.
Barack, you said, and you're quite right, that every religion has its extremists. But we have to be frank that the biggest problem we have today is the Islamist extremist violence that has given birth to ISIL, to Al-Shabaab, to Al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, and so many other groups.
British people are so charming, they even make a smackdown seem polite. Selfishly consumed by legacy instead of evil, we would rather please Iran, signing on the dotted line, not enforcing the red one. And look who's sending troops into Syria now. Iran. Maybe they're just picking up olives for Ms. Jarrett's martinis. And so with Hillary's negligence, Kerry's stumbling, and Obama's ambivalence, their party's foreign policy is reassuring as a spreading rash. Turns out Obama had it backwards. The JV squad is us. Period. Mind-blowing stuff. Let's welcome tonight's guests. She's so bright, children are told not to look directly at her because they'll go blind. K.T. McFarland, Fox News national security analyst. And he splits more sides than a butcher on meth. It's the hilarious Rob Long, TV writer, producer, and founder of Ricochet.com. And her favorite color is vodka. It's Joanne Nosuchinsky. And if facts were dandruff, she'd need a case of Head and Shoulders. It's our op-ed, Katherine Timpf from National Review. And he's chairman of the very board. It's our liberal panel. All right, I want to go to you, KT, because technically you are the expert here, although I know a lot as well.
You did a pretty darn good job.
Should we just go to break?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you give me tell me what happened this week from your perspective to our foreign policy?
We've walked away from the Middle East. We have left. We have abandoned our allies in the Middle East, and Russia, a new Russian-Persian alliance, is taking charge, and it will result in genocide of the Sunnis and of the Christians, and Israel is now alone. The other thing that you didn't mention that was fascinating was that this was UN week, right? So
yeah.
Putin talked, Obama talked, the crisis that continues. But when the Israeli prime minister went to speak at the UN, the American ambassador was told not to be there. Now that is one of the biggest symbols. In other words, Obama is leaving the Middle East. He's leaving Israel on their own to fend for themselves, and that's the new reality, and Obama likes it. I think it's intentional. I used to think they were just incompetent.
No, it's on purpose.
No, it's on purpose. I think that in Obama's mindset, America is the problem, that we're the evil country, we're polluting the planet, we're taking too many resources, we go to war, we're terrible. So if America were only to take a step back from global leadership, that somehow, kumbaya, Woodstock, the global international order would break out. And what in fact has happened, the alternative to American leadership is global chaos, which is what we're seeing in China, the Middle East, Russia, etc.
Well, that was upbeat.
Yeah, that was really cheery.
Thanks a lot. All right, Rob, I think that there's a lot of people looking at this differently, that there's a relief that maybe because Russia's going there, it's no longer our problem. I used the metaphor that he's taking a crazy X off your hands, which you're, I'm sure, aware of because you're unmarried, and generally everybody you date is psychotic.
Everyone is psychotic. Everyone is psychotic.
Yes.
So that's a giant set.
Yes.
Right? Look, that is the argument. That's the argument. That's the argument that a lot of people make. It's a lot of presidential. The front runner, the Republican field right now is making, which is that it's really not our fight. Look, it's okay to be realistic about what's happening in the Syrian civil war. It's okay to say that there is 27 militias and they're all anti-American, and there really isn't one we could put our money behind. One thing we've learned in the region is we can't turn these people into pro-democracy America militia proxies. We can't do it. We can't do it in Afghanistan, can't do it in Iraq. But that argues, if it's a tough neighborhood, when you walk through a tough neighborhood, you want to stick with your friends.
Right.
And so that argues for a stronger alliance with Israel. It's okay to be cynical. It's okay to say, be realistic and say, the Syrian civil war is going to be a giant bloody mess. These are borders that were now almost 1 century old. It's going to be a disaster. You don't walk away from your friends. There's only one country there that is a democracy. There's only one country there that stood by us. There's only one country there we can trust. And that is the one country that this president has continually insulted and, I think, betrayed.
Yeah, and I think will by the end of his administration.
Yeah.
The other thing that everybody misses about all this is I get it. If you got two enemies fighting each other, let them go at it. Let them bleed out. Don't get in the middle and try to stop that. But what is the Middle East? If you have Russia aligned with Iraq and Iran, Syria, potentially Saudi Arabia eventually, you control the world oil market. You control world oil and natural gas exports. You control the world energy market. You control the world economy. So this is a whole lot more than just the Syrian civil war. This is Obama's play to try to control part of the world economy.
It's unclear that's going to happen. It's
unclear,
but
unclear. I think that's the goal.
It's more clear, I think, what's going to happen is you're going to suddenly find reasons, the Jordanians and the Saudis are going to suddenly find reasons to sort of get over their problem with Israel. And that's what we hope is going to happen.
Or what's happening is that they're all starting to trek to Moscow. You've seen the Egyptians, the Israelis, the Jordanians, the Saudis, they're all going to Moscow. Why? Because they think our emperor has no clothes.
A leadership vacuum, an American leadership vacuum, is always a bad thing.
Yeah, that's
Ugh, hate cleaning.
Of course you do, darling.
Should I bother to explain that, or should we just let that? I don't know how to.
No, I mean,
what's the rule?
You took all of my talking points, you guys.
I think it's impossible to predict anything. Even if we unseat a leader, a horrible leader we've learned from Iraq and Afghanistan,
bad guys.
Doesn't really solve anything. And there's really nobody we can trust or stand behind here. So I don't really have a problem with the fact that we're not jumping in if we're not sure what to do. Don't attack me.
No, I'm not attacking you.
But
I mean, that's where a lot of people stand right now.
We do have to be careful with the relationship, though, with that analogy, with the ex. I mean, you don't want to completely cut ties because your ex knows where your parents live. Your ex knows what allergies you have. So to not sort of still be in contact or still know exactly what's going on, what your ex is plotting to do to you, you know, you're putting yourself and your family at risk.
I think that's the I think you're coming at the perspective from the ex.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I know your allergies.
Your ex can light your car on fire.
Exactly. Can put a garden hose into your mailbox.
You just stare right into the camera so that he gets the idea what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Well, let me bring in the liberal panel. I have a theory, panel, that the Obama's apology tour from 2007 has set the stage for this lack of respect that we're seeing now, and that he actually welcomed this. He's like a third base coach that was waving Putin to steal.
I have no idea what you just said.
Well, that's because you're dumb.
No, I'm a liberal soul trapped in this wall forever.
Yeah.
Look, you guys are excited. All you conservatives are excited, and I'm very happy that you're excited. I haven't seen conservatives this excited since the late 90s. You've been waiting for a Russian this evil since Rocky IV. That's what's happening here.
Wait a minute. Rocky IV, was that in the 90s?
Well, that was in the 80s. But the point is, conservatives have been waiting for Cold War II forever. You guys are thrilled about this.
That's not true. I married a Russian. I married a Russian under the assumptions that things were going to be great.
She's probably evil, because all Russians are evil, right?
Yes. It's going to make for interesting table talk. We got to go to a break. But first, another helpful video for all the young diplomats out there. If you have dreams of becoming the next Ban Ki-moon or Boutros Ghali, and who among us doesn't, here's a lesson on the United Nations in our latest installment of News for Kids.
So, what is the UN General Assembly and why do we need one? Well, we don't. You see, an assembly is a group of people gathered together in one place for a common purpose. In this case, to see whose speech can bore the audience to sleep first. Every year the competition grows stronger. Once nap time is over, the leaders are forced into a speed dating round where they must pretend to enjoy each other's company. These awkward exchanges include forced smiles, icy stares, and alcohol. And like a bad date, the person you end up meeting with might be out of their damn mind. Because if you're crazy, you can still get an invite. At the end of the week-long event, nothing is accomplished and no one changes their mind about anything. In fact, if you actually wish to prolong suffering and injustice in the world, the best place to be is at the UN, where things won't get resolved, but they can get worse. Make sure to catch this useless nonsense again at the same time and place next year. This has been News for Kids.
It is the worst thing in New York every year when the UN arrives. All they do is shut down stores to go shopping and take over restaurants. All right, still ahead. Hillary's pile of classified emails continues to grow like a thing that grows, like a tree or a shrub, maybe. Stick around. So on Thursday night, after the Oregon massacre, President Obama condemned the routine of mass shootings.
The reporting is routine. My response here at this podium ends up being routine. The conversation in the aftermath of it, we've become numb to this. And what's become routine, of course, is the response of those who oppose any kind of common sense gun legislation.
Maybe so, but the facts tell us this. Shooters are obsessed with previous shooters. Till we start treating this crime like teen suicides, muting the media to block the spread, it will only continue. People smarter than me have had this idea before. In 2012, following the Sandy Hook massacre, a social scientist, bear with me with her name, Zeynep Tufekci, wrote in the Atlantic magazine, quote, "The detailed and sensationalist reporting of the killer's steps just before and during the shootings may be creating a vicious cycle of copycat effects similar to those found in teen and other suicides." And this week in Oregon, Sheriff John Hanlon had the same idea.
I will not name the shooter. I will not give him the credit he probably sought prior to this horrific and cowardly act. I continue to believe that those media and community members who publicize his name will only glorify his horrific actions. And eventually, this will only serve to inspire future shooters.
Let's talk more about this with nationally syndicated radio personality Hugh Hewitt, host of the Great Hugh Hewitt Show. Hugh, you've been tweeting a lot about this and the president's response. What didn't you like about what he had to say?
I thought it was a low point of his presidency, Greg, and I think that it was completely callous for the president to walk out when the bodies were still on the campus and announce and declare he would politicize the moment. I don't know any of the 9 families or the victims of the shooting who have survived, but I do know 2 families who've lost young people in the last week, and the grief is awful. The mourning goes on for a long time, and for the president of the United States to walk out and make declarations about this and about that, and they were vacuous. They were utterly vacuous statements, was, I thought, heartless. And on the day after, and I hate to follow K.T. McFarland talking about Syria because I'll sound stupid, but on the day after his complete collapse of Middle Eastern foreign policy, why would anyone think this president is any better at gun policy than he is at Middle Eastern policy? He's not. He's utterly vacuous, and at this point he was callous.
And the other interesting part about this is if anyone else treats this as a political football from the other side, they will be condemned. Like if the NRA were to come out and say, this is why you shouldn't have gun-free zones. This is why you should have armed security everywhere. If they did that the moment that this happened, they would be accused of horrible activities. But it's only okay to politicize an issue if you agree with the politicizer. Right?
Yeah, I don't know if you read the Saturday New York Times editorial. I don't know if you ever read the Saturday New York Times.
Every morning.
But they treated it like a theater review. Yeah. They said the Republicans indulged in bromides, that the president had understated fury. It was all of a set piece, not taking into account the fact that 9 real people are dead. Nor did they mention, in September in Chicago, 59 people were killed by handguns. 349 people in the entire year before that. In Oregon, they've had 90 murders. All right, so this is not a question of crazed white beta boys in their basements, though that is a problem. It's a much larger issue, and every single solution suggested by the left, Mitch Berg has done this over at Shot in the Dark blog. There are 13 so-called common sense gun control proposals, not one of which would have done anything to interfere with the last 12 atrocious terrorist acts by people in the United States. Not one.
So, Hugh, I have a solution, which I talked about on the 5 yesterday, and I keep bringing it up, which has to do with muting the media response to such things, almost treating it as a mundane event, like a tragic event that you have to move on from. President Obama has used this very same argument when discussing ISIS. Don't play up ISIS's deeds because those encourage recruitment. That is the same argument that one could use here, that the more you play up their deeds, you encourage recruitment into basically what is an isolated death cult, a desire for immortality.
It's 100% correct. Eric Harris is laughing in hell somewhere. And I would say that when NBC made the move, when the Virginia Tech killer put the videotape to show the videotape, they crossed a line which they've subsequently come back from, and they realized that that was a mistake. I think we all realize that. But I'll tell you what, the president walking out and giving an Othello-like performance, trying to be the most outraged person in America, the most grieving person in America, is not the way to disincentivize killers like that. That which gets rewarded gets repeated. The president ought to have issued written letters to the people who had lost loved ones that day and said nothing else rather than saying, I'm going to politicize this. That was actually shocking.
Yeah, and lastly, it indulges this hysteria where the media reports on what's called an active shooter now when they hear a car backfire or somebody slamming a door, and we create this whirlwind, and now you can even get the president's attention. Anyway, Hugh, we've got to go. Thank you for coming on the show. I'll talk to you soon.
Great to be here, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you. Coming up, Hillary Clinton's fall. The worst idea ever. Edward Snowden joins Twitter. And my favorite toys. It's stories that'll make you sad, angry, disgusted, and hungry, though not in that order. This week, hundreds of Hillary Clinton emails were released that shockingly contained classified information. That sound brings back memories. All right. The number of messages deemed classified from the former Secretary of State's private account doubled, with the latest State Department release totaling more than 400 emails now. To put that in perspective, that's almost 500, KT.
Yes.
It was also revealed that Russian hackers attempted to access her account at least 5 times. The emails were disguised as parking tickets and contained a link. It is unconfirmed whether Mrs. Clinton ever clicked on those links, although she did exchange emails with a delightful Nigerian prince, and surprised they're now engaged.
Aw, that's
yes,
nice.
I hope I'm invited. What's with my caller? But actually, some of the more amusing emails include her arguing with a White House operator who doesn't believe that she's Hillary Clinton. Also an email where she asks an aide what FUBAR means, which, if you are unaware, stands for effed up beyond all recognition. Ironically, a phrase that could be Hillary's campaign slogan. A little hit there, KT. Not very bright when it comes to modern technology. This person should not be in charge of national security, especially in the age of cyber terror. She can't handle her own emails.
Yeah. You know, the fascinating thing about all this is that she's making the same mistakes Richard Nixon did. And she investigated Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon, who was president, thought he could control what the public thought about him. So he had White House tapes.
Yeah.
He was going to release them when he wanted to. He got subpoenaed. He wouldn't give them up. Anyway, long and short story, he ends up resigning. Hillary thinks, I've learned from this. I want to control what people think about me, so I'm gonna do it on my emails, and I'm gonna delete the ones because Richard Nixon never destroyed the White House tapes. I'm gonna be smarter. I'm gonna delete them, not realizing, to your point, you can't ever delete anything. At the end of the day, she's gonna have the same result. And the irony of it, the Greek tragedy of it all, she was on the Watergate committee investigating Richard Nixon.
Yes.
And she learned the wrong lesson.
I would say things have come full circle, but I'm still unsure what that means.
Because it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't.
It's something you say just to sound smart, which I think that's good.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Right.
Things have come full circle.
Things have only time will tell.
Only time will tell. You know, Rob, I think we've learned that she's not very bright. You know, they were warning each other, her and Uma, is that her name?
Uma, yeah.
Uma were warning each other, I believe, about, or was it Cheryl Mills? We're warning each other about using private email on private email. That's like preaching monogamy at an orgy.
Well, yeah. I like the fact that she needed someone to help turn her ringer on. How do you turn the ringer on here? I have sent texts and emails to my assistant that reveal my complete inability to do certain things. But what I love about this is that, like, unlike Richard Nixon, she came really close. She was admired.
Yes.
And she had really kind of put to bed that kind of dragon lady, evil wicked witch of the West image she had until really recently. I mean, it just shows you that you can't get away from stuff.
Well, also her spokespeople, they really crack me up. Her spokesman said, well, all this proves is that she just got spam like every other American. Millions. Not every other American was Secretary of State.
Yes.
All my spam is not from Russia trying to get national secrets.
Every other American deletes their spam.
Yeah,
You're told to when you know that someone's phishing, which she assumed that they were. Like why would you say
What a
that?
sucker.
Of all the ones that you selectively delete, you didn't
got a
delete
parking
that.
ticket? This must have been from the 90s.
I do keep some of my spam, the herbal Viagra, just in case.
Just in case.
Well, you
right.
never
In
know.
case. It could be a great gift for
Hello,
it.
dear. I want to send you pictures. You keep those. Yeah.
I always answer the ones that pretend to know me, and then something pops up, and then I have to spend hours trying to scrub my.
But it is always
server.
this is always in trying to be super clever.
Yeah.
They end up being stupid because it's super clever to have your own little server somewhere in Colorado. Gmail, takes care of all that stuff. It goes right to spam filter, right to your junk filter. You never have to see it.
Could have gotten away with all of this, but I think President Obama, the Obama administration, has decided they don't want her.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
They're sabotaging
No one wants her.
She's twisting in the wind.
Look, when I worked in the White House, you don't have 3 government agencies investigating Hillary Clinton unless the President of the United States is given the green light.
Yeah.
And that's what you've got. And when you have that many people investigating, they're going to find something.
I imagine the liberal panel must be thrilled over this because then your candidate, the equally wooden Bernie Sanders, will step in.
Listening to you makes me want to puke sawdust, Greg.
Yeah, I would like that.
Look, did Hillary Clinton email ISIS? Did she email Putin?
No.
Did she?
No.
What's the point?
Because she should not be in charge of anything that has to do with terror security if she can't handle being hacked. If she allows her stuff to be hacked, she's vulnerable.
she should be using Snapchat. Then you guys would not know anything that she's doing.
Well, that's
She
a
already
myth.
made that joke.
Yeah.
Come on, Paul.
Then, either.
And anyway, she didn't need to email Putin. He was reading her emails in real time.
That
They
is
were
true.
hanging out.
You know what I find interesting is that her allies are saying it's unfair that her policy plans are being ignored as everybody focuses on the emails. But if you actually looked at her policy plans, the emails are helping her because she has no policy
Right.
plans. She's anti-Wall Street. She's using the hedge fund rhetoric of Trump. She's talking about less corruption, which is incredibly vague. She mentions national security, but she's got no specifics. She wants better treatment of family and children, which, as you know, we are all against.
Yeah, yeah.
I want worse treatment.
Horrible for families. I want the kids to starve.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So she actually has no policy plans. The email scandal is saving her, right?
Yeah, at least we're not talking about her hair.
Yeah, that's true. But her hair is beautiful.
Her hair looks good.
I thought her hair looks great.
More
All right.
volume.
Before we go to break, it's time once again to take a look at some of the tougher questions facing the candidates on the 2016 campaign trail.
Coming up this week on the Campaign Trail 2016, Joe Biden considers throwing his name into the race. But if elected, how much government money would he spend on My Little Pony souvenirs?
$10 billion a year. That's not an exaggeration.
Plus, Hillary Clinton hits New England. But what are her thoughts on watching Weekend at Bernie's 2 immediately after watching the original?
It's the best thing ever. It's unlike any experience. You just fall in love all over again.
And finally, Donald Trump tries to maintain his lead in the polls. But as president, would he have the guts to ride a horse topless like Vladimir Putin?
That won't happen, I can guarantee you, with the President Trump.
Till next week on the Campaign Trail 2016.
It's true, you can't be president if you won't ride a horse topless. John Adams said that, KT. Coming up, the worst thing I've seen since Johnny Depp's last movie. If you leave now, I will throw scalding water on Rob Long. He likes it, though. It'll help you spot a jerk at work. I speak of a new app that's been dubbed Yelp for Humans because it lets you rate anyone you know from 0 to 5 stars like me. It's easily the
worst thing ever.
Nicely done. The app, called Peeple, with 2 E's, or actually 3, works like this. You post reviews of people, and they won't be anonymous, the posts, and you can leave a positive review, which goes live right away. If you leave a negative one, and it goes to the inbox of the person reviewed, who can then dispute it. If the 2 people can't reach an agreement after 48 hours about the bad review, then the bad review goes live. Now, only the app's users can read the reviews, but a person can't opt out of being reviewed. Sounds really, really stupid. But its founder explains, quote, "This is all about uplifting each other and helping each other and operating from positivity." What a bunch of bull. We all deserve to know who the best of the best are. Bottom line, the only thing worse in the world right now is this video.
Do you consider yourself a feminist?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. All right. I don't know where to start. I'll go to you, KT.
Yeah.
This could be an invention in time wasting because people are going to spend all their hours trying to erase negative things. It's idiotic.
Well,
is it necessary?
No, this is weaponized gossip, right?
Yes. Nice word. Where did you get that?
Yeah. Until the lawsuits happen.
Yeah.
Until the suicides happen.
Yeah, that's actually true. That if the stuff gets harsh and somebody jumps off a roof, then it ends, which I could only hope Rob Long might happen. Actually, you know what? This is like what?
Short. Loud, sometimes self-centered.
Right, this is already exists for anybody who's in media, the comments section, right?
Yeah.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Cat, eat a sandwich. Cat, what's wrong with your voice? Cat, you're annoying.
I'm
Cat,
sorry.
you're stupid.
I
You're
just
so
wrote it
stupid.
that one
Everything you say is dumb.
What was the sandwich?
Oh, yeah, you're skinny. Eat something. You're gross.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Humble brag.
You're stupid.
Humble brag.
Well,
Yeah.
Cat, you're too skinny. You're just too attractive.
I look like a scout. You know, it's every day we go through this.
Mm-hmm.
So I might like to have some of these people know what it feels like to have someone tell them they have thin, evil lips.
But you have to know the
for a
person.
change.
But you have to know the person.
No, yeah, I don't know.
So then it hurts even more.
Yeah.
At least you can say, I don't know this person. They don't know me. They're leaving
They're
a
in their
nasty
mom's
review.
basement. They probably eat too many sandwiches, and they should leave me alone.
I think it's a good idea.
Wow, why is it a good idea?
Sounds kind of
Because
fun.
I think it's a moneymaker, and,
Yeah.
and therefore it's a good idea. It'll make. No, look, I mean, we already have it. It is weaponizing gossip. At least you have to put your name to it. You have to say it's you. It's not anonymous.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
have to opt in to hear it. So you have to say, I want to hear what people say about me. It doesn't go public until you say you join the networks.
And then it goes viral.
And then
Everyone wants
but
to
you
know
joined
what
it. You've
people
said
are
it. This
saying
is
about
important.
them.
I would like to say you're welcome to the founders of this because I suggested Yelp for People on this show a few weeks ago when we were talking about employers looking into future employees to really know if they were good at their last job or not. Now I think that my idea is actually pretty awful, so I'm glad I didn't actually follow through with it.
It might make us.
Still.
It might make us better people in that we will funnel our hate online instead of on the street. So you don't go up to people on the street, or maybe go up to the liberal panel and tell them that they have termites or something.
As a liberal, Greg,
Yeah.
I'm all about one thing, and that's love.
All right. There was a stupid tweet from a deadbeat. Traitorous scum Edward Snowden has opened a Twitter account. On Tuesday, the former NSA worker wanted for leaking classified surveillance documents tweeted, "Can you hear me now?" Hilarious! And later, astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson wrote, "Thanks for the welcome. And now we've got water on Mars. Do you think they check passports at the border? Asking for a friend." Wow, it's like he's applying to write for New Yorker cartoons. You know, they're that good. I don't really mind. What bothers me, let me ask you, Rob, because I think you'll understand this more than it's the flocking of the people, the sheep-like people that immediately join because they want to be part of a cool crowd, that they're following Ed Snowden, who's a traitor.
Yeah, and they want is an @ reply from him.
Yes,
Yeah, like
exactly.
they're buddies now with this guy. And of course it had to be Neil Tyson. It
had to be.
You couldn't, if you had to come up with somebody more irritating, you couldn't come up with somebody more irritating.
I'm trying.
And then that's like that little sort of tweet and @ reply, which I would call it's not funny, it's NPR funny.
Yes.
It's not really funny, it's just a weird set of, I'm sorry.
The liberal panel laughed at that.
Sorry. It's like got all the references, but you're like, is it funny? And you mentioned Mars because that was in the news that day.
Yeah.
Well,
You know.
Can you imagine how boring it must be to be Edward Snowden in Moscow right now? I mean, he was the talk of the planet for so
because
long.
he's a
and now he's
hero.
sort of-
He uncovered something, and it was unconstitutional. So to say,
In your
hey,
opinion, but it's not.
No.
It's not
Oh,
unconstitutional.
yeah,
He's now made our
unreasonable.
lives
It's
very
unreasonable.
vulnerable. We are now vulnerable to
No,
attack.
we were no, we're not. There's no proof of that whatsoever.
Until there's proof of it.
The government was taking away all of the rights and freedoms that make this a beautiful country to live in.
How so?
And for us to say.
How so? Were they reading your mail?
For us to say that, oh well, they said they were doing it to keep us safe, so it's okay. Go ahead, government, take my rights. Unreasonable searches. I'm pretty sure the government having a record.
This
of
is not
every
unreasonable.
every
They were
phone call you've
they
ever
were
had.
actually
It's definitely
addresses. They're no
unreasonable.
different than an address on a letter. That's all they were.
It's
by the way,
much
even
You can learn a lot from
Snowden
someone's calls.
admitted.
The days are making calls, the times are making calls. They see when you're sleeping, they know when you're awake, or they know everything.
Just like police officers patrolling a neighborhood. You know what it is? Even Snowden admitted it was a mistake when what's his name? John Oliver grilled him and said, "You didn't read all of this stuff. This stuff could have been harmful." And Snowden sat there dumbfaced going, "Yeah, you're right." Last word to you, liberal panel.
Snowden is going to make a wonderful vice president.
Who is?
Snowden.
No, but he has to
Clinton
first
Snowden 2016.
He has to come back here and then face trial.
I can't wait to vote for him.
For his crimes against humanity, or at least crimes against me. All right, still to come. Which of these finalists should make the National Toy Hall of Fame? Who knows? I only played with matches.
Ever find yourself alone and in need of some company?
Then you need us, Millennial Escorts.
For all of your safeguard needs.
Are you a senior citizen who needs help getting around? We got you.
Vision impaired? We got you.
Need help loading that Costco order into the minivan? We definitely got you.
But if you're just calling because you're lonely, don't call us. That's gross.
Services start at $200 an hour.
For an extra $60, we'll even escort your dog for you.
Because sometimes you just need a little bit of help.
Or a lot of help. No judgies.
None.
What was this ad for again?
Battleship Twister, Puppet, Scooter. Not only are they the names of the transients living in a hole in my backyard, they're also finalists for the National Toy Hall of Fame. To earn a spot, the toys must have, quote, survived multiple generations, be widely recognized, and foster learning, creativity, or discovery through play. The rest of this year's 12 nominees include the Spinning Top, Coloring Book, Wiffle Ball, American Girl Dolls, Jenga, Playmobil, Super Soaker, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Of course, there was at least one glaring omission, a toy from my childhood. In fact, I still remember the commercial.
Introducing the deluxe remote control flamethrower tank set. Now you can unleash hell here on Earth. Just push a button and watch as you send villagers running for safety. Grown-ups trying to put the fire out, invite a friend over to create even more havoc. But hurry, these beauties are going fast. Get your deluxe remote control flamethrower tank set today. Fuel sold separately from Whammo.
Those were the good old days. We could, now we're just coddled. I can't have a flamethrower. All right, Kat, I'm going to go to you first. Because who do you think has the best chance of winning?
It's a really tough question because they're all horrible.
Really?
Right? American Girl dolls are hyper-nationalist. Battleships, Super Soakers glorify war and violence. Coloring books, they kind of promote the idea that you have to live within certain lines, which is oppressive. Puppets promote the idea that you can't really live your life as your real self. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, ageist.
Yeah.
Perpetuate this culture where we glorify youth above all else. We throw away the old even though they're wiser, right? And then we get some Playmobil, right? The heteronormative family structure. So typical. Tops, Twister, Wiffle Balls, Scooters, all ableist.
That is true.
Jenga, not fun.
Yeah.
Jenga's also just not fun. It's too much anxiety, not laughter.
It could fall over.
That's the thing. Most of these toys I did play with, and I had a very anxious childhood.
Yeah, that's true.
Battleship terrified me. Super Soakers.
Yeah.
Who wants to get wet?
No, that's true.
And Jenga, I mean, that's just
never fun. Especially if you have a shaky
I don't like
hand.
messes.
Yeah. You know what it is, Rob? I have a theory. The definition of a toy, because it's invented by adults, is an object given to a child to distract the child so you can create more children. It was like you were in a closed quarter and you only had one room, so Daddy would go find a dirt clod and go, go play with this, and then he runs off. Use your imagination, and he'd run off with Mommy.
Yeah, and that's the toy is now an iPad.
Yes,
it's a TV. It's the Toy Story 3 is a toy store.
Yeah,
I always like the old toys when they show antique toys. With it's a stick with a thing, a string, and a hole. And that's the worst toy ever.
Yeah,
lawn darts.
Lawn darts. Those were the good old days. I loved lawn darts.
Actual toy.
My parents were always buying me lawn darts.
Yeah,
even after they were banned. KT, what's your favorite toy? What was your favorite toy?
Well, as a mother of 5, I played with all of them. And I must say, Playmobil is the hardest. Because once you lose the box, and you've got all the pieces, you have no idea what fits. So that's a good analogy for life.
Yeah. I bet, Liberal Panel, I bet you still play with toys because you're a stunted child.
I once dated a game of Jenga.
Really?
Yeah, it was going great for a while until it fell apart.
Oh, very good. Well done, my friend. By the way, speaking of imagination, I don't believe that children actually have imaginary friends. That's a total concoction from TV sitcoms.
There's
nobody has.
All my kids
Well, of
had
course you would.
imaginary friends.
They had them?
Oh, totally.
Weird.
Yeah, I mean, whenever when Mom, it wasn't me. It was my imaginary
this
friend
idea that
over
children
there.
have this wonderful imaginary life.
Lies.
They're so creative.
Lies.
Then why do they all draw alike?
Yeah, that's true.
Oppressive coloring books.
All right, don't go anywhere. We got more stuff to come. And it's almost here. How to Be Right. You have to buy this book. It's the title of my new book. Available October 27th. Reserve your copy now. I'll be on tour to support it. 20 cities, 9 states. This is where I'll be. If you look on your right there, go to my website, ggutfeld.com, to order and get more information about where I will be.
It's time for Gregmail. The address is gregmail@foxnews.com. I read, he answers, then we all get matching haircuts. Here we go. All right, Nick in Chicago wants to know, Greg, would you consider adding the occasional celebrity cooking segment?
No. I wouldn't. We thought about it for a while, but every time we talked about celebrity cooking segments, I wanted to do something like boil Jeremy Piven. Or maybe create a Josh Hartnett stir fry. But the fact is, whenever you do cooking segments, they go wrong. Plus, you got to have. Do you know that you have to have techs? You have to have people in the studio, like with fire equipment and stuff like that. It's not worth it. That's why I've never done a cooking segment, and we never have bands anymore. It's just too much work, and I'm lazy.
Yeah, you definitely are. Tyler from San Jose wants to know, Greg,
what is that accent?
I don't know.
San Jose, California does not talk like that.
Sarah Palin does, though. Okay, Greg, you always hear about train fatalities, but do you think there's a parallel universe where the act of being hit by a train actually creates life? What if instead of having sex and giving birth, everyone gets hit by trains as the means of procreation?
This is what's interesting about this show and Red Eye, when we used to do Red Eye. A lot of our viewers are high.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very high, Joanne. And that's clearly an example of somebody who has some amazing drugs that he should share with us.
We should invite them on.
Yes.
And lastly, Mikey from Davis, California wants to know or says, I know you grew up near San Francisco. I've moved on to mixed martial arts. You should join me. It could be fun. You won't regret it.
I don't understand what the two have in common. I mean, first he's saying he moved to San Francisco, and now he's bragging that he's into mixed martial arts. I don't see the connection, but I'd be happy to meet you because I love a good burn.
Yep.
I love to work out.
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Yeah, you work out as well, don't you?
Sometimes.
What do you work out?
Where?
Well, yeah, where?
Oh, yeah. No, it's on my blog.
Oh, really? It's on, no, I mean a street address in the Times.
So you can find
I'm
it
just
there.
trying to figure out for people who want to know when you work out. Too creepy? Perhaps. Or maybe it's not creepy enough. Next week. All right, thanks to K.T. McFarland, always a pleasure. Rob Long, always a semi-pleasure. Joanne Nosuchinsky, Katherine Timpf, boo. Hugh Hewitt, the liberal panel. I'm Greg Gutfeld, and I love you, America.